Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Invictus Racing League's top tier of Formula One racing. My name is Webbo, here to take you through tonight's race as usual. But tonight, joined by a special guest in the commentary box, in for JP, who couldn't be here with us. It's Mr. Joe Hamster. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening. It's a delight to be here once again, but alongside yourself this time instead of JPH.
Absolutely. Well, good to be back in touch as well. I did have a great time commentating F2 when you were there, and we were both in the same tier at the same time. So good to have you on comms. We've got we're here at Spa for the next round, the round 7 of the championship. And Joe, we're about to get underway with a lap with Ricky Maru. If you fancy taking us through, giving an idea about how he's performing across this first lap.
Yeah, of course. Let's give it a go. Why not? Needs to make sure he doesn't run too deep into the source. Got to get right on the apex as he does, and a nice wide exit to carry as much speed up through what has been the flashpoint for the rest of the races this season is Eau Rouge. Plenty of incidents up there so far this season, and if he keeps it nice and tidy and on the track limits, he'll be flying all the way up the hill, down the Kemmel Straight. Probably the easiest place to overtake around here, especially if you've got those wings nice and low, which I've heard from Ricky Maru in the previous practice session. He does have those wings nice and low. A little bit of twitch through the next couple of corners, and I think he might back out of this one. He seems to have lost a lot of time there, and I think he has, yeah, a mistake from himself. And
so heading through
that will be the end of that lap.
Malmedy and Rivage getting very snappy through Les Combes. I wonder if we can find another driver to take us through. I guess we've got a Alpha Tauri. That must be Nick Buxton. He's just attacking the next lap, so maybe we'll take over once we reach that Les Combes area. We'll find a quiet moment to take you through the standings so far, but needless to say, reigning champion Ghost is doing well, picking up those podiums while the rest of the drivers either no score or have flashy wins and then followed by less flashy results. We're missing a few drivers tonight. Emir has broken his steering wheel, unfortunately, or pedals. I'm not sure which of the combination, but he can't race tonight. Didn't fancy picking up a controller, it seems. And Joe, it looks like Nick has reached that point on the track where we left Ricky Maru.
He has indeed, and he's not backed out of his lap this time, so he needs to take it nice and wide through here. You can opt to put your wheels up on the green, but that's never a good time. But Ricky Maru, he just set the time that he was running. Down through Pool, and an easy place to invalidate your lap. Make sure you don't go wide, but use as much track as possible. He kept it a little tight through there, so possibly a tenth or two to find on his next lap. Down through Campus, making sure you keep your car in one piece and not running wide there, as he was inches away from invalidating his lap. Only a few more challenging corners left as he runs down the hill through Blanchemont. Coming up now. He's got to make sure he can carry as much speed through it. We've seen drivers reach up to 203 miles an hour in other tiers, but it looks like he's focusing on that second sector a little bit more. One last big braking pointer spot for the chicane, taking it nice and tight through there. And he does exactly that, clipping both apexes, so he can get a nice wide exit. And a power down right to the line. It's a short run and a 1:44.4 for Buxton.
Excellent stuff. Really good. Welcome to Kelvin and to Owen. Owen says, hi Joe, big fan. And Kelvin hasn't cheered on Speed Queen yet. Yes, he has. He said, let's go Speed Queen. So fantastic. Our night is not complete, Joe, top tier, if both Kelvin and Gam88 haven't said, let's go Speed Queen. So Dane Star, though, goes fastest at 43.6. Now, that's pretty impressive for a banker lap. I'll tell you who else is often on it is Stinos. We've got some times rolling in now. MDJ 1:44.329. We've got both Aston Martins. Well, we've got Livingwall just finishing his lap. Have we 1:44.191? That's impressive from Livingwall. Tell you what, I'm also looking for a good. We'll do a lap on board with Luke Bailey, the birthday boy, as well. We've got Ghost just finishing out his lap. Will this be a competitive early one? It certainly will, a 43.907. But Cameron Searle blasting the field away there, nearly a second to the good against second place. Cameron, a 1:42.715. Back with a vengeance tonight, Joe.
Yeah, brilliant time from himself. I'm just trying to think back to tier 2, and I think a 1:43.6 was the fastest time, so that's an absolute flyer from Cameron.
It really is. He's nailed on it. You're not running crossplay in the other 2 tiers, is that right?
No, crossplay is enabled in all of them, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so we've been having a few lag spike issues, particularly for the PlayStation users, which might have been affecting people. Owen says 143.2 was the pole for tier 2, so that's obviously been beaten already. I think it will continue to be beaten. I'm riding on board with League admin JSP at the moment, who's going through Blanchimont flat out and looking for his braking point into the bus stop. Stabbing down on the brakes heavily. Skid marks already being left through the entry to the bus stop. First corner, and JSP to the line goes P8, 144.416. Not exactly ideal. Given that we've got fans of Speed Queen watching, let's see how she does in the second sector.
Yeah, just on board with her now. She's looking a little bit tentative through a few of these corners. It's just a first run, and it doesn't have to be an absolute flyer. I'm sure Cameron would disagree with me here. But getting a time on the board, because it's an easy place to crash out here. And if you don't set a single time, then you're going to be guaranteed at the back, as Cameron does actually do exactly that.
Has he crashed? He has!
He has, on track, yeah, just where Speed Queen's run up to now. Approaching Blanchimont. I'm not too sure what happened there.
I thought he was just dusting off his hands, so to speak, and say, shaking off to the grid and saying, right, I'm unbeatable. Have that, lads,
No, that would have been his in-lap. Strange one.
Bizarre. Right, well, Speed Queen usually goes for a warm-up lap, but this is Spa, and it's a very long lap to run that. So if she goes up to 5th, a 44.001. It's there or thereabouts. Certainly, if you're in the 43s, you're doing pretty well. Although I do anticipate we'll get another driver or 2 into the 142s. A little bit of a lull at the moment on track. Joe, maybe you can take us through the highlights of the recent results, the first 6 rounds, and where the standings leave us, drivers and constructors.
Yeah, of course, I'd be delighted to. Obviously, we have a few drivers missing, like you've said. But the current championship leader, Ghost, is in the session tonight. So he will be looking with other drivers possibly missing to extend that lead a little bit. Cameron Searle is his nearest rival in second place, who is on pole for now. He's not going to go quicker, but maybe that will be quick enough. Amir, as you said, he was missing. He's our 3rd driver at the moment. But Speed Queen, who we just watched go over the line, in 5th at the moment, she is 4th in the league. So she will be looking to possibly close that gap to Cameron and Ghost as well. And with Cameron DNFing, that could be a chance to do exactly that. Stinos in 2nd on track at the moment. He is currently in 5th place, and a few drivers then below him are unfortunately missing tonight. As for the constructor standings, the AlphaTauri team are leading by just a few points. I think it's 6 points between the two, but between him and the McLaren team, Ghost, who will be hoping to push that forwards a little bit more. Cameron Searle and MDJ, of course, in the AlphaTauris. And then 3rd place with a double. Oh no, Jeremy is here, sorry, but Amir, as we've said, is missing. So possibly those two could pull a little bit of a gap to the rest of the field tonight.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. It could just be that being Mr. Consistency this time will be the way Ghost works his way to the championship. Last season it was a very different story. We're on with Clarkson here in 14th currently, because he hasn't set a time and he just runs over track limits, unfortunately. So that's that lap dead in the water. Nick Jewston is back on track. I did want to catch a lap with Luke Bailey. I think he might just be behind him actually. No, just about to start his lap. So we'll ride with Luke Bailey as it's his birthday. Owen says he did a 43.6 and came 6th in his race in tier 2. And Cameron Searle warns us of the dangers of texting and driving at the same time.
Never a bright idea, that.
No. And MDJ says, more importantly, what wings do you run, Cameron? Is it -10, -20 to get that kind of speed? So Ghost is usually our thinnest wing runner, and that's how he's managed to stay in front for a long period. Seems to be able to live and dance on the limit of grip much better on this current iteration of the game than his rivals. Luke Bailey then going through Lake Com, pretty smooth at the moment. Very high upshifts through Malmedy, but that is a corner, Joe, where you frequently will understeer Malmedy and fail to get the traction.
Yeah, it is a really horrible corner, and it's so easy to just run really deep through there, and it loses you a good 4/10 of your lap.
He's treating Pouon with a great deal of respect. You've got to avoid those curves on the inside as well.
Yeah, the inside and the outside curbs are ones you do not want to mess with, and if you get your throttle down on top of one of them, the wall will be your final destination for that session.
Totally. Well, heading through then Stavolo 1 and Stavolo 2. Going with the new naming criteria. And then hugging the right-hand side is Luke, just getting the car prepared to go through Blanchimont. Just an engine note dip as he rides through there. That was just the power of the aero stalling the car rather than actually lifting the throttle. A little bit bouncy maybe, Joe, over the bus stop.
Yeah, I wasn't actually on board with himself, but he has put in a nice shift there, and he's up into 6th place. I was watching behind what was going on, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, Luke Bailey into 6th, the 44.154, and Clarkson has made a mistake. Not as big as Jasper, though, who is currently trying to do a very slow, underpowered reverse on the track, and that was balletic if you'd have played it in a fast speed. It did look a little on the clumsy side. He was coming out of Le Fagna and made a mistake coming out of there. So we're just waiting then to see who else is on track. Maybe Stinos is running a lap at the moment. His fastest at 43.576, the only driver within 9/10 of Cameron so far. Stinos has his very quick moments, depending on the track. He had real flashpoints through season 15 that Ghost eventually won with his consistency and win rate. But Stinos was there, particularly at the first third of the season last time. And I think maybe it's just track specific, and he just brings himself in when it's a good track. So about to head into the bus stop then for Stinos. Forgive me, I just realised I haven't set up the screen properly. Didn't have lap data on. There we go. Now we'll get some sector times as we have 4 minutes to run. Stinos goes half a second quicker on a 43.0. I thought he was closer. But 43.0 is a good time. Still nobody in the 42s. We'll keep an eye out, Ghost. Have you seen anybody actually on an attack lap just yet?
42.7 is an absolute crazy time. I can't believe how quick he's gone there.
Cameron says he's running 3 and 0 wings. That's pretty aggressive.
I think I was running 10 and 14 last night. There's a bit of a difference.
Wow. Well, Speed Queen then, I'll keep an eye on her. She's in P7 at the moment. She's gone a 1/10 and a half faster. She does need to pick up the pace though to feature on the higher order. What are you thinking about strategy, Joe? How have things been? Have we had straightforward races where you can make a judgment as to which is the better tyre?
No, we've not had straightforward races. I think the best strategy has been stick on the mediums and put the hards on for the inevitable safety car.
Okay, got it. So really, it's not a two-stop or a soft tyre enabled track. It's just too long and high deck, right?
Yeah, exactly. Unless Speed Queen can prove me otherwise. She's a bit notorious for that.
Absolutely.
But I think it is just a standard hard medium in whichever order you prefer.
So that is half a second gained in a purple middle sector for Speed Queen, probably indicating to me, Joe, that she's running higher downforce here.
Well, I would agree with you, but she's hitting some high top speed, 206 miles an hour.
Wow.
I know Darryl was running very low wings and he was hitting 203 in his qualifying, so maybe she just has really good control of that car.
Do we have a Whiffins wall in Spa now as well?
We have 2 Whiffins walls from Spa, unfortunately.
Speed Queen goes 43.450. That is a big improvement, and launches herself up onto the provisional second row. Tremendous. We were hoping to try and collect Whiffins walls all round the tour of the season this time round. Clarkson is starting his attack lap now. I think MDJ might be finishing one, but Clarkson fishtailing his way out of La Source. That's the lap ruined straight away. But the silver lining to that particular cloud means that he can reset his ERS deployment and go again. The worst thing is if you mess up the lap right at the end and you've got no fuel or lap or ERS to run the next one. Living Wall in the Aston Martin coming into the bus stop. I think he's just starting his next lap. We've got outlaps for championship leader Ghost, who for a moment here on track at least is behind his teammate Reshka. Reshka does a lot of the setup work for their pairing, and Ghost tends to enjoy the setup that Reshka runs and strategy. Nick Houston, I think, will leapfrog much further up. A 44.4, I think there's plenty of room to improve for him. And Livingwall is a reserve driver at the moment, but has featured several times already. Yellow flag, sector 1. That was a Ferrari coming through. Eau Rouge, Livingwall just half a tenth quicker so far in the first sector.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of an interesting fact for you about those two McLarens tonight. Is Reshka has not put any time into a setup or practice tonight.
Wow, okay. MDJ retires from the session. Is he in the pits? I don't see his car stationary. Okay, so he's decided he's not going to get out and back round again. As Ghost starts his final lap, we're down to 30 seconds. We've got a bit of a furious turnaround for the race coverage. Once the green light is lit from the admin, we have to get going very quickly. Camera says don't look at telemetry and drive at the same time, so I can't make up my mind now whether he was texting or telemetrizing. A 1/10 improvement for Ghost in sector 1. Again, needs a bigger gain than that, but 43.9, 1/10 will see him about just about leapfrog. Only his teammate at the moment as we go through. I'm just keeping my eye on what's happening. Nick Houston has gone 9th only, quickly deposed back down to 10th when the Aston Martin came through of Livingwall, who posted a 5th place time. Got a Ferrari ahead of Ghost here. Just trying to hang on to see Ghost's second sector, but it's either Stinos or Danestar about to cross the line. It's definitely not Stinos, it must be Danestar in 6th place. So crosses the line, Danestar, looks like no improvement. 6th place, 1:43.648, and Ghost coming through, and I managed to look away, so I didn't see his second sector time. So
2.5 tenths.
2.5 tenths, fantastic, well done. Good job on that one. We've got P9 in at the moment, and that could see him in P7. A bit of a under rotation possibly into the bus stop. Quick short shift up to 4th on the way out, and Ghost goes 6th with a 4/10 improvement. That final sector was pretty good there, Ghost.
I don't know as much about the tier 1 drivers and who's sort of a quali specialist or a race specialist, so he might be P6, but if he performs well in the race, there's nothing to complain about just yet.
No, indeed. He has got drivers in front of him at the moment. Speed Queen is probably outperforming her normal quali position, so she always moves forward, so this could be a very promising one for her. Stinos, as I say, and Cameron, very much the likely ones, maybe even MDJ. But Ghost, I would expect to be higher up. Nick Houston and Ryan de Pevine, I would also expect to be higher. So they're not having the best of starts to tonight's race meet. Owen says starting P6 here works pretty well, if he does say so himself. But I think that might be gaining from the retirements of others, possibly. Cameron Searle, 1 lap, one retirement on his in-lap due to some form of distraction. And he secures the pole with a 42.7. That was, I thought he'd done it in style, but he's done it in style nonetheless. First position, 42.7. I'd love to know, as he's watching the stream, how close he came to his personal best there. Right at the start of qualifying as well, Joe.
Yeah, I'd love to know sort of what time he could have set if he stayed through the whole session. 42.7's ridiculous as it is.
Well, here we have then the race grid, and Joe will take us through.
Yeah, so as we've been talking about, a 1:42.7 for Cameron, that will put him on pole. We have Stinos in the first Ferrari just behind him with a 1:43. 3/10 is the gap between the front two runners. We have MDJ and the AlphaTauri in 3rd place. Speed Queen in 4th, higher than we've expected, with Livermore in 5th, the reserve driver tonight. Ghost 6th, who could have performed a little bit better, but Danestar and Luke Bailey just behind him. Ricamaru in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 and hoping for points tonight is Reshka. JSP and Nick Jewson are close behind, with the back two runners, Ryan de Pevin and Jeremy Clarkson, other than Jasper, which I've just missed out, who did not set a lap tonight.
He was off screen, wasn't he? But there you go. He's absolutely 15 drivers in qualifying. Whether we've managed to get any drivers join us through qualifying or not will remain to be seen, but we're going to have to be pretty quick on the button here without a formation lap. I know that formation laps are not popular among the drivers, but they're an absolute lifesaver to commentary, Joe.
Yeah,
hello.
exactly.
What have we got going on now? It's drizzling. What do your eyes tell you, and more importantly, what does your PS5 tell you about the race conditions at the moment?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a spicy one tonight for sure.
So my earlier forecast was from JSP. It said wet into dry race. What are they going to do about that then when it comes to tyre allocation? With that, does this look like intermediate start and then just timing you switch on to the medium or hards?
I think exactly that. You've got to run those inters until you have to change. If you pit on the inters for more inters, throw your race away, I think.
And I think maybe Cameron might have been too busy texting to read the weather forecast. He's dropped it. He says he's on no wings. He's going to die. Going through here. And Ryan saying he apologises. He pressed the wrong button, and that's why everyone's readying up quickly. Well, we're underway very shortly. The lights are on for round 7 of the championship, and it's dropped the clutch and go away from the start. Cameron Searle just squirreling away from the start with that difficult lack of traction at the moment. MDJ trying to follow him through and secures that second place. Then there lots of really pretty good behaviour going in here into towards Eau Rouge for the first time as the drivers just organise themselves. Speed Queen has dropped a place down to Danestar. Ghost is in 6th with Livingwall defending hard against the upcoming Nick Jewston from the back, and we've got some side-by-side action. An absolute monster of a run here from Clarkson, who managed to get a several car tow down the Kemmel Straight and takes the inside line, but he will fight side-by-side with Nick Jewston, who just about claims the position. But Joe, any news from towards the back of the grid as I get my screen organised?
No, they all keep it nice and tidy through there, and I think that's the first race so far that we've not had a massive collection up Eau Rouge, so it may be raining, but they're all well behaved in Tier 1.
Absolutely. Danestar versus MDJ looks fantastic going through the no-name or Jackie X corner as they approach P1 for the first time. Danestar gets himself up onto the provisional podium. He has gained 4 places from the start. 5 up is Nick Jewston, Clarkson and Jasper. Everybody else dropping down. Looks like a bit of a nightmare for Ricky Maru. He's down 6 and at the back, but within sight of the tail runners at this point. Speed Queen just fighting here with the car. She tends to bring the tyres in very gently, and that tends to hurt her in the first few laps, but she gets faster and faster towards the end of the stint, and her stints are usually longer than most. That might not work tonight as we try to go 3 wide, going into Stavelot, coming out of Stavelot and heading towards Blanchimont. Nick Jewston just about stayed on terms here. Speed Queen got past MDJ. One of the Aston Martins is going wide, and Nick Jewston round the outside of MDJ, puts himself in the tricky position, runs out of road, and he'll have to cede that position. And he picked up a 5-second penalty before he could even cede that position back. Such was his skip across the bus stop. Cameron Searle, 2-minute 0.7, fastest lap as you'd expect at this stage.
In that chicane as well, I don't know if you caught it on the stream, but a bit of contact for Speed Queen and she was sent round, so she's near the back of the grid, unfortunately, other than those 3 that appeared.
Ghost is just trying to organise himself towards Eau Rouge. Of course, it's frantic stuff at the start of this race. He's slightly sideways coming through Radion and down the Kemmel Straight, just about tucks in behind the Alpha Tauri. And this stage of the race not really helping him as Clarkson goes side by side for a second there with Nick Jewston, but he just yielded the corner rather than have an accident. Smart thinking from Clarkson coming through the Les Combes chicane. Nick Jewston has got himself that 5-second penalty as we saw him challenging. He's not feeling any more shy though as he takes Ghost, and he's right on the tail here of MDJ. Looks like he's got some great tyre warm-up and grip at the moment here, Joe.
Yeah, both MDJ and Ghost are really struggling. I don't know if they've got that. Sorry, I thought it was really contact there. I don't know if they've got the dry setup on ready for later, but the pair of them are really struggling so far.
Yeah, we haven't. Oh, that's a little bit of a wheel-to-wheel touch there between Nick and MDJ as they come on through. Leifania and into Stavolo. MDJ managing to keep the car pointing in the correct direction at least. I think it's that it's low wing setup because the cars are fairly level on the straights, but in the middle sector, Ghost really struggling.
He's having snaps left, right and centre through that middle sector as well. A bit of possibly a naughty overtake there from juicing on MDJ, but he's made the position now and I think he'll just run away.
You think maybe a bump and run situation there?
Possibly, yeah.
The Ferrari's doing well, and Stinos is right behind Cameron Searle. I was expecting Cameron to disappear off, but he is probably having the same sort of problems that Ghost is having at this stage. Rain lights flashing. That's not your ERS warning light at the moment. That's the rain light for the driver's visibility. Brought in because of a Spa incident where Coulthard slammed into the back of... Schumacher slammed into the back of Coulthard, who was slowing online to let him through, and they decided to develop the racing the red warning light as a result. Here comes Ghost then with a good run coming out of Radion down the Kemmel Straight. I'm not sure he's quite going to have either the grip or the top speed to overtake into Les Combes, but making a use of himself in the mirrors. Kelvin says MDJ hits Spread Queen. So he says in the chat anyway. She won't thank you for that particular typo.
There's a spin for a Haas. Rick Amaro going side by side with JSP. I don't know if it's contact. He's in the wall. He's probably got damage, and I think he's beached the car. Yeah, he had beached the car, and a naughty little reset to track there from himself.
I think that's forgivable now if he's beached.
I think it's against. I don't think you're allowed to do it. No.
Wow. Okay. Even if you're beached on a curve.
I think the premise is you're beached on the curve, so you can't continue the race. So a reset is not allowed. I'd have to double check the rules for that one, but he could be in trouble.
So Ghost down the inside, coming through Stavolo. That was a nice overtake. He was suddenly getting some grip all of a sudden. Oh, but a big sideways moment as he was narrow going through Stavolo too. That would compromise his line on the way out. He's now going to be watching his mirrors on the long run down through Blanchimont and towards the bus stop. I don't know if MDJ, with no real championship challenge at this stage or any real jeopardy here, might just go for it. Cameron Searle 156, Danestar 156. The track clearly drying out at this stage then, Joe.
Yeah, this is still currently raining, but it's just dribs and drabs at the moment. But it's a slow track to dry, so even when the rain stops, there will be a good handful of laps left. And we've noticed that the safety car seems to affect the weather quite badly, so if a safety car doesn't come out, it will get drier a lot quicker.
And it's also one of those tracks where it's such a long circuit that if you fail to make the decision at the correct time, you pay a massive penalty here in Spa, which is why it can have such a bearing on drivers' races now.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one, and sort of on the flip side of that is because the track is so long, you can have rain in one side and not the other, and you make that wrong call in the pits when it looks nice and dry, and all of a sudden you're getting up to Pill 1 and you have no grip because it's wet.
MDJ suffering a little bit there, coming through Malmedy and into Ravage, just struggling with grip. Stinos is within 3/4 of a second of Cameron, but Cameron still leads from Stinos, Danestar, Nick Houston, Ghost, MDJ here on screen, Ryan de Pavine, Speed Queen, Reshka, JSP. Speed Queen's moved back up pretty well from her early struggles. Then Reshka in 9th, JSP, Ricky Maru, Jeremy Clarkson, Jasper, and Luke Bailey with Livingwall having DNF'd. We missed Livingwall's DNF, unfortunately.
It was in the pits.
Ah, interesting. Okay, so presumably unrepairable damage for him. Sector 2, that's a Haas. Still, that's Ricky Maru, spin number 2 so far, and we're only 4 laps in.
It's not a good omen, but maybe once the track dries up he'll be on his own, but for now he's going to fall a bit far behind, unfortunately.
Highlight of the race so far, Nick Houston, who's moved up 8 positions from his start place, so he has really profited from this, presumably running a wetter setup and expecting the wet weather to last longer, or at least to gain those track positions and then hold on. Stinos still just 0.8 of a second away, as MDJ has now got mirrors full of Mercedes here. He's not been able to hang on to Ghost, and Ryan right on his tail.
Yeah, I'm just on board with Ryan now, and he's looking like he's driving a little bit more consistently than MDJ. I'm just wondering if that 5-second penalty of Juicen is maybe not because of the contact with Speed Queen, but possibly avoiding contact with Speed Queen. So
it was
that'll be removed.
It was cutting the corner, for want of a better phrase, in lap 1.
Did you see
across
it?
the bus stop? Yeah.
Okay.
He picked it up just for, I guess he might have touched the throttle going through there, and then suddenly he gained the places. Before he could even give the places back, the game had given him a 5-second penalty.
Oh, the harsh one from the game then.
Absolutely. First warning as well, it seemed. Ryan, just a quarter of a second now behind MDJ. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the other battles. We've got Clarkson dropping back. He looks like he's having a problem coming through Malmedy.
Yeah, another spin. Another spin for the rear of the field, unfortunately.
Yeah, nothing too terminal though, on track at least at this stage. 5 laps in, and Ryan is struggling to find a place on the racetrack. He's not going to run into the back of MDJ. Looking for some clear air on that front wing, and he's just about got that. MDJ having a real difficulty getting out of corners on traction. Ryan temporarily almost alongside, but top speed here, MDJ paying off massively. They were almost level coming out of Stavolo, Joe, and then there's about 2 car lengths by the time they get to the bus stop.
Yeah, crazy. I think Ryan's deploying a lot, maybe a little bit more ERS to get alongside, but that top speed of MDJ, probably with the dry setup, he's crazy quick down the straight, and sort of he's losing that advantage instantly.
How long do you anticipate the Inters will run in these current conditions? I'm assuming quite a lengthy period.
I think you can probably run your Inters. You can probably even run them all the way to the end of the race, I think.
Yeah. I think Ryan just had to bail out the throttle going into Eau Rouge. Such was his downforce advantage, and then suddenly he's lost all his momentum coming through. Really can't go 2 cars wide through there more than once, through Eau Rouge and Radion. You don't want to make a habit out of it. Into Malmedy then, where he's got good grip. MDJ trying to take the middle of the road, but Ryan sticks it up the inside, and looks like that additional grip in the middle sector is really helping him. Can he stay ahead though as they go through to the quick sectors 3 and 1 to follow? Cameron Searle now only 0.4 of a second ahead of Stinos. I'll rejoin that battle if Ryan gets himself away from MDJ, and he's absolutely blasted away, over a second already. So let's go head up to the front in the battle for first position. Cameron Searle holding off Stinos so far, but it has been yo-yoing the gap between these two.
Yeah, just on board with Houston, and he's playing with fire, trying to use as much of the track as possible. Up on the curbs in the rain is brave decisions, as he's lost a few temps down this straight because he was right up on the curb and had a nice snap of the car. He doesn't want to fall too far behind these front runners, especially once the DRS is re-enabled when it gets drier. He doesn't want to fall out of that second gap.
No, indeed, but the rain continues to fall at a steady, if not spectacular rate. At another fastest lap for Nick. He is very, very quick tonight. Danestar then holding on in third, and Ghost, I don't think I've ever seen this before, Ghost nearly 6 seconds away from the lead battle of the race here in the top tier of IRL.
I wonder if Houston's running a high downforce setup himself, because he had a big snap on the downhill and I definitely lost a lot of time there, so the fact he still set that fastest lap is an interesting one.
Definitely. Just checking out here. Yeah, Ghost did break his podium streak, which had been a great. It was if he finished, he finished on the podium for a great number of weeks, stitching together season 15 and 16. But he did get a 6th place at Monaco last week, so that streak is very much over. Whether he can carry on and keep scoring highly enough to hold on to the championship lead remains to be seen. Stinos 0.8 of a second away now. Nick looking like the man most likely, but Speed Queen, has she just got past MDJ? She has. So that's looking very good for her. She's finally managed to get herself much further up the grid, and she'll be looking to change tyres pretty quick. But Nick is almost pushing the Ferrari now. Sister teams here, same engine, but Nick... Oh, I don't think he did actually push the Ferrari of Danestar, but... Oh, and Danestar, unfortunately, has just been caught resetting to track as well. There's debris on the racetrack as well on the way out of Stavlo, Joe.
There was no contact. I was on board.
Okay.
There was definitely no contact. He was pushing through the corner, but as the car of Danestad pulled away, he span the rears, unfortunately.
So Danestad is going to have to finish this lap with at least a right-hand end plate missing. He's decided to not go in the pits and try and run a full lap here without sufficient downforce on the front wing. That's pretty brave.
Yeah, such a long lap, and if he's made the wrong decision here, he's fighting through turn 1. I think that's going to be the wrong decision for himself, but he might prove me wrong.
It does look like the rain is easing off, Joe. How about on your screen?
Yeah, so a little bit of spitting. I guess maybe if he pits, he's going to have to pit for more wets, and he's going to have to pit again for the dries, so he'd lose almost 40 seconds there, so maybe it is the right call to keep that front wing on for now.
Yeah, well, he shed some weight, I suppose, and some downforce, so it may give back in these long straights here at Spa, but I can't imagine it's going to be the quickest way around the track, given the handling requirements through the quick corners, such as Blanchimont and Pouhon. They're going to be an absolute handful. He made it through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, but there was a significantly bigger lift of the throttle than you would normally see in the wet here.
Yeah, he got through Eau Rouge quite nicely, actually, but at the top of the hill, through the next 3 corners, he lost almost 8 tenths there, and as you can see from Pouhon, he might as well just not touch the throttle at all.
So that brings Nick all the way up to a provisional podium at this stage. He's got a 5-second penalty on the car, but he's got an 8-second gap to Ghost behind, so he's fine in terms of holding that off unless we get a safety car that closes everybody up. He might do well here, Joe, to pit on the sooner side just in case and pay that penalty off, but what has he got? Half a second now to second place.
Well, that 5-second penalty, it's for track limits. You can't serve that in the pits, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, right, okay.
I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. So I will bow to that opinion. Nick Houston quickly takes the fastest lap off Cameron Searle. So Nick is absolutely, unequivocally the fastest guy on track in these conditions at the moment. So it's working well for him, but it could be a real tasty battle between the high downforce Nick and what we know to be the low downforce Cameron once this track dries out. And I'm seeing the odd glint of sunshine in the sky. I'm not seeing any falling rain right now, Joe, are you?
No, I'm not either. Usually if you look at the halo, you can see the rain a little bit easier, and I can't see anything. So I think it will be in maybe 4 laps possibly. We could see the track drying up, and who's going to be the bravest into the pits.
Yeah, I mean, it's about making the right decision rather than the earliest one, as Jeremy Clarkson, half a second himself behind Ricky Marou. Ricky could do without mirrors full of Aston Martin to pay attention to. He's had enough drama already for tonight. Nick Houston down to 1/10. I'm not going to cut away from this battle right yet, because Nick closing in on Lefania and the back of Stinos. Just trying to see where he's quick. He's quick at corner exit, but not necessarily on power. Let's see. He's going for it here, coming through Stavlo, right in the wheel tracks. What does he do now? Just ride the slipstream, or try and find himself some track position at this point?
I think Speed Queen had a little bit of a moment. I think she was side on there, and she's lost a handful of time to the cars ahead, and MBJ's caught right up to the back of her.
So it's far from straightforward for Speed Queen tonight, but Nick Houston couldn't have it much better at the moment, trying to find some gap on the racetrack where he can see the marker boards. He's so close to the car in front. There is such a thing as being too close, Joe, at the wrong point on this track, and coming into Eau Rouge is probably one of those.
Well, actually, that was a flashpoint for my race last night, and it was being followed. I was followed literally end to toe through Eau Rouge, and I had a tiny snap as the track got better, and it ended in the inevitable.
It's a really tough place to go racing, especially in the wet. But Nick is really struggling for top speed versus Stinos. You can tell straight away the difference in setup here. He's going to have to get the job done as they enter the second sector here, I think. But it's just closing that gap back up after it's opened through the Kemmel straight, unless it's worth Joe spending a whole load of ERS to get level under traction on the way into one of the fast corners. But Stinos picks up a 3-second time penalty coming through Jackie Ick's corner, so that's going to make life a little bit easier for Nick. He only needs to gap him by 2 seconds now.
I think, like you said, using that ERS to get alongside is probably the best bet. There's no point wasting it down the straight. He's going to be slower even with the ERS, so it's a waste of time deploying it there. So,
is there anywhere in the middle sector that's better than anywhere else to sort of launch a surprise attack in?
I don't really know. I'd be too scared. Oh, a big snap there from Sinners. I'd be too scared to send it down the inside of any of those corners, if you ask me.
There was an opportunity. Had Nick been on the ERS deployment as Stinos had a snap, that would be a really strong chance for him. As it is, a bit of a lockup or trip through some puddles for Stinos, and maybe, I don't know. I know that Nick's advantage here is going to be in the wet conditions, so he's not really going to want to pit before the Ferrari. He's going to want to have a lap on his own in clear air if he can, if the conditions fall that way for him. So lap 11, midway through the race, it's Cameron from Stinos now, 1.8 seconds. Then we see Nick Houston right behind him. Ghost some 9.5 seconds further back in fourth, but very much on his own. He's got a 5-second gap behind him to Ryan, Speed Queen, MDJ, Danestar, Reshka and JSP, your top 10 at this stage. We have 14 runners. Luke Bailey's trying to finish Spa on his birthday, and he's at the tail at the moment, but anything could still happen.
Yeah, he looks like he's got... His pace isn't too bad. He is far down, like you said, but he did that pit stop, and he's closed the gap to the drivers ahead, so maybe once if the field does bunch up, he could climb up through the field a little bit quicker than we realised.
Looking for the mother of all undercuts then, Luke Bailey, but I presume he came out on Inters, so he's still got just the same amount of pit stops to make as everybody else. A big splash of water coming through Puon there for Nick, as suddenly the camera fills full of spray. Round the outside we're trying through Lefania, becomes the inside into the next section. Has he managed to get himself ahead here? He has! That was the kind of surprise attack I was looking for, Joe.
Yeah, brilliantly executed. I don't think he squeezed his opponent off the road or anything. He made it nice and clean. He's a very aggressive driver, but all within the laws of racing.
Absolutely, tremendous stuff. Owen enjoyed that too. Good evening to Rents. I haven't said it. Good evening to him. Regular viewer. Does enjoy his top tier of racing here at Invictus Racing League. A reminder, you can follow us on socials at Invictus RL, and you can follow my commentary output at WebORed5. Nick Houston, another fastest lap, 1:54.499, and this is where he needs to make as much hay as possible while the sun is not shining for him, Joe.
Yeah, fastest lap with a side-by-side overtake through about 3 corners. That is mightily impressive. Another spin at the back for the Haas of Ricky Maru.
Is that there, Ricky again?
Yeah, sort of opposite ends of the field there.
Yeah, and leaving debris on the racetrack as well. I'm assuming that means he's lost some end plates. The car's going too fast past the trackside camera. Oh, he's lost everything off the nose. So I have got a glitch YouTube short video of a main plane front wing missing with end plates still operating. So I have seen some odd ones. Danestar right in the back of Reshka then through Eau Rouge and up over Radion, but Reshka suddenly with a burst of pace, and is that... Oh, Danestar suddenly slowing, coming through. Is he releasing JSP? I wonder if he gained an unfair advantage and has been given the instruction. No, he's lost an end plate. That's why he was off throttle coming through there. That's why they were suddenly closer to each other on track than I thought they should be. And Stinos has retaken Nick Houston, heading into, I'm assuming, into Les Combes, where he would have the best advantage. And now Nick is squirming all around the back of Stinos. So Stinos didn't take that one lying down, Joe.
Yeah, it was, like you said, up the hill into Les Combes was exactly where he made that move. He was ahead before the end of the straight. Wow. Crazy top line speed for him. So.
With no DRS advantage either, and it is so wet still coming out of Stavolo too.
I know, I thought I was being optimistic saying 4 laps before it dried, but maybe I was even more than that, because, well, Ricky Maru's on the mediums now, but it looks way too wet for them now.
So another fastest lap ticks over. Carousel goes on a 54.1. Have you got any impression how low those laps need to go before it's time to go onto dry tyres?
No, I'm not too sure, to be honest. We're gonna have to just play it by ear and keep an eye on the track. Probably under the 150s is probably when it's changeover time. But
usually the drivers just wait for the DRS to be enabled as well.
Yeah, the best one is the DRS indicator. As soon as you see the road start drying, you know the DRS indicator is coming a lot sooner. Maybe a pit stop for Dainstar, is it just to change your wing or put on the dry tyres? Let's keep an eye on Ricky Maru's split times to see how he's going, but I think it's a little bit too early at the moment.
And Ricky's decided that the way to counteract spinning on intermediate tyres on a wet track is to put dry tyres on a wet track. So he's gone on to mediums. Dainstar's done exactly the same thing. Pretty much it's the only thing you can do, as Stinos is defending like a lion, as they say, running through the second sector, splashing into the entry into Puon, and then you can see Nick Houston has got a tremendous amount of grip mid-corner, and then it fades away again once they hit the higher gears. Through into Lefania, and again not quite able to challenge, and it is so wet in Stavolo, this south tip of the circuit, and all the way in the run down to the bus stop. I guess just it's the spray and the forest area that just holds the water, drops it back onto the circuit again. Penalties through the field, we'll just take stock of. Stinos 3 seconds, Nick Houston 5, and then 3 each for MBJ and JSP that are unserved at this point.
Yeah, I'm really invested on the 5-second penalty for Houston, whether it'll be served or not.
Well, we haven't had anybody make any sort of claim on the live chat, so we shall see. Obviously, they serve the pit lane speeding penalties in the pits or on track at the end of the race, but do they for corner cutting?
Well, they don't serve the 3 seconds, and
no.
Obviously it was a straight 5 for the corner cam, but I don't think that's served either. I could be wrong.
Well, we shall see. This is still the closest battle on track is the battle for second place, although it will change as a result of penalties, one way or the other. Carousel 2.5 seconds in the lead of the race. I'm not sure whether Nick hasn't spent everything, either of his ERS or of his tyre life. He suddenly dropped his attack right back to over a second here against Stinos. So that means that now JSP is the closest car. No, Speed Queen is the closest car to another one. She's caught right up to the back of Ryan, and I anticipate that's probably a mistake from Ryan.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm on board with Rickamaru, and it is not time for dry tyres just yet. He's all over the place. He was 3 seconds down on his first sector, almost spanned just there, and yeah, a 7-second deficit just in 2 sectors. It's not ready yet, and I think we could all see that from the track.
Will medium tyres last to the end of the race from here? What, 8 laps? I presume they'll be fine.
Yeah, they would last until the end.
Good. So
but it's all... Yeah, you won't have to pit again at least. Silver lining.
We're expecting them to not see the hard tyres. It's just a case of whether they can keep their wing intact by the time it dries out. Nick Houston back down to under a second, as JSP is about half a second behind Reshka. Ghost, reigning championship leader and champion, in 4th place. He's doing pretty well at the moment, unchallenged from behind, but a way off the battle for the podium as things stand.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep my eyes everywhere at the moment. There's a lot going on.
You can be fairly sure you'll miss the crucial mistake as we skip around. It's really difficult.
Someone will call it out after the race as well, I'm sure.
There's Ricky, a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So he's managed to skid off somewhere. JSP just 3/4 of a second behind Reshka in the battle for 8th position. Reshka probably running low wing, as is the habit for the McLaren team. Waiting then to see when this track finally dries out. There's multiple dry tyre markings on the track on the way into La Source, but it's all about that south tip and whether the spray is still active through there. They go through Eau Rouge, no visible sign of water through there, but Jasper is right on the tail of JSP now. Should have the overspeed to make the job fairly straightforward, and down overlapping the car able to take up his braking position already on the way into Les Combes and completing the move up to 9th for Jasper. So I think that will probably spell the end of JSP's challenge. Whether Jasper can now challenge Reshka remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's looking really dry up there, but as they start coming all the way down the track, it just gets wetter and wetter.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one tonight.
Kelvin telling us that the 5-second penalty will stay as it's a corner cut. So definitely siding with you on that one, Joe.
I had an inkling that was correct, but you doubted me. I can't lie.
Don't let me ever dint your confidence. There's now a 4-way battle for 8th place as Nick Buxton is under half a second. Let's have a moment back up there as he gets the new fastest lap of the race, a 1:52.9, and we're getting closer and closer to that 1:50 mark. It's going to be a very short sprint at the end of this race on dry tyres. If they get that deep, it's lap 16 already. We've only got 6 to go.
Yeah, Reshka ran wide there. I saw that one, and he's picked up his first 3 seconds. I'm wondering if actually, even if the track does dry, it might be quicker to keep those inters on. You might be 4 or 5 seconds, or maybe even 6 or 7 seconds quicker, but you've got to make that 25-second deficit. Yeah. And I'm wondering if they'll just run those inters to the end regardless of the track.
Yeah, because of course when the wet race is declared, there's no mandatory pit stop. We have seen that once in Turkey, a single set of inters running the whole course. The Speed Queen has managed to get past Ryan on the way into Les Combes. Again, I'm tempted to deduce from that Ryan had a rougher ride because the gap was quite large. It didn't look like she was within striking distance. However, Nick appears to be virtually pushing Stinos around again as he goes around the outside. He did this before around the outside of Leifania, back onto the inside left-hander, and he's completed the move again. But I'll stay with him because Stinos got him back a couple of laps, well, a single lap later down the run to down the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes. So already the gap opening to 6/10ths, but I swear Nick had like a 1.2 second gap and was still overtaken on the way into Les Combes. Again, as they go through Blanchimont, Nick is having to defend hard into the bus stop, but Stinos has gone right round him around the outside.
Yeah, while you were talking, Jasper went round the outside of Reshka through Le Castellet, a brilliant move from himself, and that will put him ahead of the driver. And as Reshka was forced a little bit wide, Jeremy just slipped his way through as well.
Nick's gone in the pits, and so I thought did an Alfa Tauri, but no, it was the Alfa Romeo that went into the pits. So Nick has decided to duck in and go for the medium tyres here. He's serving his penalty.
He is serving the penalty.
Well, it's not often that I call something like that, right? So I'm going to take it while it happens, while it lasts. Clarkson right on the tail here, and it looks to be pit stop o'clock here, Joe. And this is not only is it time to go in, but a wet pit lane entry into Spa. That should be enough to cause nightmares for the drivers. I wonder how many will actually survive this one. So far, so good, but I've seen so many drivers make mistakes going in there.
It's an interesting... Obviously, we're not on the track, we can't feel the cars, but I would have said it was still a little bit early, and maybe we'll have to keep an eye on the front 3 and the gap between them. But I would have said it was still a little bit early on those tyres, but I could be wrong.
Well, Kelvin said just at that moment, he said intermediate tyres the whole race at this point. Yeah, it's not, that's 0 for 2 for Kelvin so far in terms of predictions. There's still spray coming through Eau Rouge for Clarkson, unfortunately. So he's on the dry tyres. Ryan was fishtailing his way out of the pit lane exit, and there's also tyre warm-up trying to be had going down the Kemmel Straight. I wouldn't be weaving, Joe, in these conditions.
No, I wouldn't either. Dainstar's just span on the start-finish straight. Due to those medium tyres, it's going to be an interesting one as to what was the right call here. Yeah,
has Nick got it right? Will Ghost, Stinos and Cameron just have to double down on this now in the full knowledge that they will lose track position to Nick, but Stinos has decided to pit at the end of lap 18. Cameron Solo's gone faster still, a 1:51.8, and decision time for Ghost here. Does he gain those track positions and get himself on the podium? No, he's gone into the pits himself. So just, I think, Cameron left out there on intermediates.
It's too late for him to pit now. He's going to have to firm this one, I think.
I just double down on the decision. Speed Queen's gone for soft tyres here.
Loads.
4 to go, plus the end of the one that they're on at the moment. Well, no. 4 to go. I'm just trying to judge that one correctly, but Speed Queen just about to finish off her lap 17 to start her lap 18. I've been commentating over Gran Turismo too much, and that changes from the perspective of the driver that you're watching.
Oh, does it not just the lead driver like him?
No, that's right. Yeah, and also the weird thing on Gran Turismo is that if it's a time race, the tail runners will finish their race before the front runners. So you get checkered flags from the if they've been lapped, they finish early. Jasper's retired. Jasper in the Haas has gone out, and that is out of last source, or out of the pit lane maybe. That's a strange place, but a VSC has been called. Yeah.
Cameron is going to be relieved about that to virtual.
Definitely. Yeah, that will hold the gap for now. But will Stinos be able to catch back? 30.5 seconds is the 4-lap target for him, and I was too late on board with Luke Bailey to see Jasper's retired car and what state it was currently in.
I think that 32-second gap is going to be enough.
Cameron's come in. A VSC pit stop, so he's gone for a cheap one. That's a very canny move, Joe.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer, isn't it, actually, to come in under that VSC, keep the position, and it'll be matching everyone else's tyres. You go green again.
Absolutely. Ricky was saying in the driver chat, just dry up, would you? So he's waiting for it to happen, and he's clearly texting and driving, although maybe he did that during the VSC, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably. We're back onto green flag racing. Cameron's already out of the pit lane, and he's got a massive gap here on Stinos now. 19, 16, 14 seconds. Wow, it was dropping very quickly, but 13.3 seconds is the gap as they come through last source. And it is Cameron, Stinos, Nick, Ghost, Speed Queen, Ryan, and then quickly followed behind Ryan by MDJ, Clarkson, Reshka, and JSP, the top 10. 12 remain. Can we get 10 finishes on the hope as we get a fastest sector there for MDJ, the final sector of the racetrack, as we finally unlock dry tyre running, and we will get, I'm assuming, we'll get the DRS. I haven't seen that notification though yet, Joe.
No, I've not either. I was about to ask you the exact same thing. I've not seen it, and it looks more or less dry. I don't know if this is a little bit like Imola, where they will wait till the last second to call the DRS, open the DRS. But
there's still a lot of spray going through Eau Rouge, but MDJ almost appeared to be driving a different formula of car going through past Ryan, who's clearly got wings for days this race, but it's not helping at this stage. He has been passed incredibly easily, and he goes down the inside into Rivage, and that got a bit tasty there. Both cars hanging on, and Ryan having to relax a little bit there. That was mighty close to disaster.
It was almost a juice on special hit and run there, but he backed out.
So this is the closest battle on track right now for 6th position. Should be a good haul of points for Ghost and Speed Queen, but I imagine Cameron will take a big leap forward in the championship if he can hold on to this win. He put soft tyres on. Now, why would the drivers who stopped under the lap before the VSC, why would they have selected mediums, Joe, at this point?
I think that the softs are just not a nice race tyre.
Okay.
And really, within a couple of laps, with the length of the track, the softs will be no good again. So if they are right alongside a medium runner, then possibly they feel those mediums will sort of carry the advantage to the end. And not only that, if you have that straight line speed, it doesn't really matter how much slower you are through sector 2. On those mediums, you just make the difference up in the straights.
Sure. Excellent. Okay, so there may be a slight doubt over the soft tyre runners, although Cameron's making them work. DRS has now been enabled, so we will have two laps to run with DRS. Cameron leads by 14.6 seconds. He's not going to be worried about pressing the DRS button tonight, and perhaps nobody will, looking at the gaps right now.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on MGJ and Speed Queen. They win in the earliest, other than Danes are at the back, so the medium compared to the softs is sort of one keeping an eye on at the moment. But MGJ's not losing at all to Speed Queen, and we know how good she is with her tyres.
Oh, totally. So just to recap then, race progress for the drivers. Nick Justin up 9 places as Danestar is now retired in the pits, so that should stop us having any further caution period, although we wouldn't get a safety car this late into the race. So Nick Justin up 9, Ryan and Jeremy Clarkson up 6 each, 1 for Reshka and JSP and 2 for Ghost. Another new fastest lap that has dropped significantly down to a 1:48.494 for Cameron, and then I imagine then we are on full dry conditions for to the end of the race. There are penalties though on the cars throughout. Let's have a quick check-in with penalty situations. 3 seconds each, but it's for Stinos, MDJ, Ryan, Reshka and JSP. I think most of those are going to cancel each other out there, Joe.
Yeah, they're all sort of around one another, and really the gaps between everybody is almost 3 seconds anyway, so the penalties aren't going to pay much here.
That was JSP having an issue coming out of Stavlo. He was very, very slow. Has lost a huge amount of time to Reshka in front. Looks like the Williams drivers will be bringing up the rear today. Jeremy Clarkson in 48.241 on medium tyres. That's impressive. Where's he pulled that speed out from?
I don't know, but MDJ is sort of 4 tenths quicker on those medium tyres compared to the softs, so maybe the softs do go off after a couple of laps. Because Cameron Searle set that fastest time, but he went in a lot later than the rest of them.
True. Ghost has caught Nick Justin as well, and that's something. I'm assuming this is that turnaround then, because Nick has had the bulk of the race in the correct setup. He's been on high downforce, and now suddenly Ghost with the top speed advantage running low wings might just get himself on the podium here.
Yeah, it might even be a last lap move up into Les Combes. If Justin can get past there, he might have the podium secured for himself, so we definitely want to keep an eye on here. Definitely.
We'll probably stay with this battle for now. Cameron is far and away about to start his final lap as the battle for the podium is coming out of second Stavlo. That's quite something. Although another new fastest lap of 47.8 for Cameron. I wonder if MDJ will better that this time. Ghost will have to strike quickly because he's on the soft tyres. Stinos gets a 47.2 and then P3 and P4 come through to cross the line just over a second apart. I don't think Ghost is going to be able to do it into Les Combes. It's going to have to be into the bus stop potentially, although he has just got into that 9/10 of a second window and very keen to get on the throttle, Joe, wasn't he?
I thought he was going to go around there, I can't lie. He's done well to keep it in the track.
I think that might be his hopes of the podium gone as a result, unless Nick makes an uncharacteristic mistake. Now that has stolen all of his momentum here.
Yeah, I think that was almost the last battle on track, and I think it'll be plain sailing for all the cars as long as they make no mistakes up to the finish line. So what you see is probably what you're going to get here.
The drivers are going to thank you for that one. That would probably count as a curse there. so plain sailing.
I've had plenty already. Don't worry.
We've got
Around Hungary actually was the worst.
A couple of pairs of drivers quite close to each other. Actually, Clarkson is within a second here of Ryan. I'm wondering whether Ghost can just hang on, but you don't get DRS on the run through Blanchimont, so he'll have to be a lot closer than this to finish the race out. Cameron Searle, though, rounds the bus stop for the final time and has completely obliterated the field tonight. Cameron Searle wins in Spa by 15 seconds in the AlphaTauri, securing the fastest lap for now at the front of the field as Stinos coming down into the bus stop. Only now he'll be vying for that fastest lap, but we shall see if he secures it at the end. He crosses the line to come second and got a good lap time in there, but it wasn't good enough. Nick Justin, tremendous race. Driver of the day performance, I think, no doubt from the game. And he secures a 47.7 and third place. Ghost brings the McLaren home in fourth as very much kind of best of the rest after seeing them. And Speed Queen with a great points haul and recovery after a first couple of laps incident gets fifth. MDJ in sixth. And then we'll see. I don't think Ryan will hold on to this position after the penalties. Clarkson gets
He ran out of fuel on the line.
Okay. It didn't matter though, so we ended up having about a 4-second penalty over the line. Reshka crosses the line in ninth. JSP, and then Luke Bailey will come home in the worst position of all, Joe.
Yeah, unfortunately no safety car for himself, and it was sort of, after the incidents he had at the beginning, it was sort of set in stone there to finish at the back of the field. But I admire the effort to get to the end of the race, and with previous tiers before, he could have still scored a point or two there.
Yeah, totally. Well, happy birthday to Luke Bailey, but unfortunately an 11th place is all we could give him tonight. Great stuff from Cameron. We will try and get him into the chat, but he has to switch platforms as Nick Houston obviously gets the fastest lap there. Yeah, Cameron has to switch platforms, and I know his user is CASEARLE, and then some numbers on PlayStation. So I don't know if you can just check in the party whether he's still there, or we'll find his way, or we need a new invite after we had to change the commentary box. But he's on the top step at this moment. Stinos, I'm pretty sure, knows his way to the comms box, but again may need an invite. And then we've got Nick Houston, who we have definitely talked to, I'm sure, in this latest comms box. So we'll just check on those. Joe will have a look for them in the party, and just let me know, Joe, if I need to go through the standings, or you can do it.
If you want to take us through the standings, I'm going to look
just
just through this party at the moment.
So Cameron Sill, fastest lap and the win and pole position. The Grand Slam for the AlphaTauri driver, a 45.8 and a 42-minute race time. He secures the win from Stinos in the Ferrari. Nick Houston's Alfa Romeo coming in third place for a good bag of points and a very well-deserved result. Ghost in fourth, again coming back towards the podium, but not making one this time. Speed Queen moved forward in the end into fifth. MDJ, Clarkson, Ryan Reshka and JSP finished in the points. Luke Bailey just outside, and then the retirements: Danestar, Jasper, Ricky Maru and Livingwall. Danestar, with a name like Danestar and an Icelandic flag, that's slightly confusing me, but there you go. We have our podium. We're hoping to get them into the comms box, and Joe, I don't know if anyone has found their way yet.
No, they haven't. Everyone's in the party, ready to go, so hopefully they will. Yeah, we got a couple of them coming in now.
Fantastic. Looks like Cameron, the winner, is on his way in. So we'll go straight to him. Cameron, congratulations. That was almost an unfair fight out there tonight.
I say that it was, yeah, it was fun. That first stint, I was absolutely tiptoeing. They were so fast, especially Nick. He must have had a good second on me in that middle sector. And then just as it started to dry, I think, because I was running very, very low wings, as soon as it went dry, I think I just got a bit more confident, and then got very lucky with the VSC.
Absolutely, yeah. We were wondering whether you were going to have to sit on inters to the end as the other drivers had pitted, or whether you were. What were you in two minds, or were you just thinking, I'm going to have to pit after this lap?
I mean, I was going to pit the next lap because it definitely wasn't quite dry at that point. Obviously, it does say DRS has been enabled when it's the crossover, and that didn't actually come until I think 1 or 2 laps after I pitted.
Right.
So I was coming in the lap after, but then the VSC came in. I sort of had to take the advantage of that.
Any dramas out there today? Were you struggling to hang on to the car through that first phase, as it seemed like you were on low wings versus the higher wing drivers, Stinos and Nick, behind?
Yeah. Well, if anybody's interested, the wings I was running was 3.0, so incredibly low. Yeah, it was like I was on an ice rink at the start. They were so fast in sector 2, and I think it was weird. Even in sector 3, they were quicker, just because I couldn't get any advantage with those corners, and the final chicane. All my time was to defend was just in sector 1. You
had a moment in qualifying, it seems. I thought you were just you were just saying, right, I've done it in style. No one's beaten that, but you had a problem on the in lap.
Yeah, no, I was I was doing that. So I was in a call with Lenny and Jasper, and but yeah, I was just actually watching my telemetry, um, and looked down for a second, looked back up, and I'm in the wall. Just
Right.
stupid mistake. I was lucky I got away with it.
So you're running a separate screen for live telemetry,
Yes,
are you, on there?
I have a little screen to my side, which gives a fair amount of detail to me, but I think mental note not to look at it whilst I'm driving.
Definitely. Joe, have you got any questions for our winner, Cameron?
No, I'm almost amazed he's got an extra screen that he's got time to look at while he's driving around. A brilliant performance from yourself, and Webber did touch on the whether you were going to pit. I was keeping an eye on the gaps, and you sort of had 34 seconds, so I think even if you stayed on the inters to the end, they were only going about 5 seconds quicker, so do you think you could have taken those inters to the end and still kept the lead?
I think at that point, whilst it would have got the inters would have deteriorated so much, wouldn't have been a fair fight if they had caught me. I did have to pit, but I think they pitted a bit too early, because I have no idea what happened. Obviously, I had the VSC, but I came out 15 seconds ahead, and I have no idea where that time came from today.
That final stint, you were very strong. As soon as the tracks came towards your setup, it was just another story, wasn't it? So what this presumably propels you forward in the championship. Are you? Do you think you're back on form? Do you think you're back with us for the foreseeable future? Is this something that the drivers need to now be afraid of?
I hope so, but it's more I've had a week off from work, so I have actually been able to put a lot of practice in this week. So
okay.
I can't guarantee. I can't make any promises.
Okay, well, congratulations on the win, and well, it was the Grand Slam tonight, win, fastest lap, and pole. So, congratulations on that, and yeah, hopefully we can talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. Joe, did we get Nick at all?
Nick's here. Just Stinos unfortunately has no mic.
Super. Okay. Well, Nick, you were probably the most impressive driver on track tonight, moving forward 9 places and challenging for second at one point. How was it from your seat?
Well, from my side, it was really terrible because at first I was like, I saw the rain.
Yep.
So I decided to go for a wet setup and lower the wings a bit, as I thought that would be the best setup in the race, and then maybe I'll just lose a few positions in qualifying. But already in qualifying, it was so bad that it was just not drivable. It was I think I did my best lap possible. It was still 44, so that was terrible. But then I was like, okay, I can make it up in the race. So I got good pace, but unfortunately the rain already stopped or didn't go all the way through, because then I maybe could have even fought for first. But when the rain stopped, this was just impossible. And it's also really impossible to overtake, because I went around the outside of Stinos like twice, and then I was a second ahead, and he still overtook me on the bus stop. So yeah, that's the wrong choice to get the setup, but I was happy to still get P3. So I think damage limitation.
Was it problems in qualifying, or did you just move forward?
Just the setup.
Right.
The setup was just so bad in dry. I just don't think I could have got any more time out of that lap.
Yeah.
And I could have done with a normal setup. I did 42 high, and with this setup, I couldn't even get into the 43s. Probably because of the wings. It just matters so much on this track, but yeah, it was just undrivable.
Okay, Joe, anything for Nick?
I almost screamed when he said that it was terrible from his point of view.
Right.
It looked like a brilliant race from yourself. And after you qualifying and flying up through the field, it was almost wet the whole race. So it was the right decision, I thought.
Yeah, but I think it would have been better if I just saw the setup. I feel like I had more pace then. Because then I could start at the front, and it mattered so much already. And, not being able to overtake anybody only just when they make mistakes, and, making overtakes in corners. And not being able to defend yourself on the straight, that was really hard. And yeah. And it also made it very difficult that it became dry for like the last 5 laps. Made it pretty much impossible. So.
Yeah, I mean, still, you've got to be happy with a 9-place gain over the course of the race.
I'm happy, but just it's a stupid mistake. No, stupid. I didn't know before that this was a wrong choice, so I learned from this.
Was that just that was you reacting to the weather forecast and making the decision a little bit blind, was it? Or
Well, normally I think the range setup works out because then it's normally not that bad in qualifying. I've had experiences with that, but apparently this setup on this track, probably because of the long straights and the difference in the setup from wet setup to dry setup was so big that the performance was just such a big gap that it didn't really pay off, I think, to be so quick in the wet. It only would have paid off, I think, if it maybe was full wet, because then I really would have had more pace, but unfortunately it was just intermediate.
I see, yeah, okay. So you needed more of a middle ground really on to take advantage of the additional wing. Well, I mean, from our perspective, we've really enjoyed watching your race, especially those overtakes around the outside into the Fania. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, well done. Congratulations on a strong race and some good points for the championship as well.
Thank you.
Cheers, Nick. Good to talk to our drivers, Joe. Any remaining takeaways from you, or anything else you want to call out?
No, I think I just need to learn to get better at setups. That's what I've learned tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not an easy job, is it? Getting it right, especially when you throw wet into the mix. I don't know many drivers that do a lot of wet race practice or wet time trial practice, so it's difficult to nail it. And I think a time trialing wet condition or intermediate condition just doesn't represent when you come to actually race day.
No, I don't think at all. The problem you have in real races, yes, it's raining, but sort of it's always getting either drier or wetter, so you've got to deal with the adversity of that. So in time trial, it's constant, exactly the same amount of water on the track, rainfall, so it's just not really that realistic. You'd have to go into GP mode and just rinse wet races, but I don't think anyone really wants to do that.
No, indeed. Well, it's been a lot of fun having you in the comms box. I think we're probably back with JP next week, but you've got an open invitation to rejoin. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody for the engagement on the channel and liking the video on your way out, if you would, for us, please. But from everybody here at the top tier of Invictus Racing League, we thank you for tuning in, and tune in tomorrow for Realistic Performance, where you'll probably see Joe in action. But from everybody else here at Tier 1, we will catch you on the next race day.